Yo, what's up, y'all? Check this out. We'll go a little freestyling. Yeah. Ooh, check this out. Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? Let's keep it on the 4th fret. So, yeah. There's this deepness to my voice that sets me apart from tenors. I hear somebody in the other room. Yeah, man, what's up, y'all? As I said, right? Today is the 4th. It's the 4th, not the 4th necessarily. I don't think that's an actual number in any language, but I only know English, really, fluently at least as of right now when it comes to the languages we speak as human beings. But I know one thing. Yes, it's the 4th of November, 2025, and I know more things than that, so let's talk about some other stuff as well. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. And this is In The Image Clothing Company Podcast, episode 177. The title of this episode is actually our 5-word company name. Okay. And I'll say it like this, unless I can't fit that where I'm placing the title, then I'll just put it as our 5-word name. But In The Image Clothing Company, that is our name, right? We are in this, we're doing this. I've been here for a year and a half. I'm in this for life, doing what I do. Okay. What we do here, though, on In The Image Clothing Company podcast is have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ, aka the truth of all things, okay? We're all human beings placed on the same earth. We have one God who designed all of us, and we discuss him as he says that he is. We don't do that perfect. But what I want to talk about in here, and this is something I need to mention, and I'm placing it here. Let's document some things, right? As we do. That's what we do. Often. Our 5-word company name. When I'm on the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, which is where we allow the body to work, right? The human body just being a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space with only one way that it could ever work, designed by God, in the image of Jesus Christ. God himself, right? In The Image Clothing Company, our 5-word company name. That's what this episode is titled, actually. Our 5-word company name. So, when we allow the human body to work and we do it through clothing and we just talk about the anatomy of the human body in depth and all of these things that we do physically, okay? Often I'll say, when I'm referencing things like In The Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique, the only way the human feet are shaped is what we title In The Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique. That's also a title to one of the episodes of In The Image Clothing Company podcast where I just discussed it there, documented on In The Image Clothing Company podcast, right? But what I do, right, is I normally say you can find, our shoelace technique, for example, anywhere you can find our 5-word company name as a whole. Because we're not just a clothing company that has a name, and so we just say we're a clothing company, but that is part of our name. In The Image Clothing Company. It's 5 words, all one, actually. There's no spaces to it either, right? So yeah, there's not. It's kind of just one big word in a sense. And what I'm saying here, the reason I have this as an episode that I'm filming right now is because on In The Image Clothing Company podcast, this is our central hub. Even though the main side of In The Image Clothing Company is titled The Main Side of In The Image Clothing Company, this is where we have our rootedness, Okay, on In the Image Clothing Company podcast, this is where everything comes to. This is where we stay grounded. This is where we remember how and why and who allows us to do all this, which is God. Designed in the image of Jesus Christ. This is how we are as human beings. And so when we talk about allowing the human body to work, we're only able to allow the body to work because it's designed by somebody who is not us, which is God. So, what we do is put everything that we do on all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company under the same 5-word company name as a whole. And the reason I've done that, well, it kind of just came to be, right? God just has laid this out, and I've just been obedient to do what needs to be done when he tells me it needs to be done. But what's so cool about this is we have four sides to us. And whether you're on In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, where we specialize in purebred standard poodles, and we do all that we do with letting dogs stay natural and giving information for all dogs, or if you're on In the Image Clothing Company Music and you're seeing us discuss sizing and setup of guitar, or making music, or just giving messages through rhythm and poetry, right, around the gospel of Jesus Christ, through metronome madness and similar things like this that we do. What I can always say, and what anybody at In the Image Clothing Company's team can always say is, regardless of what you want to find, any four of the sides of In the Image Clothing Company, or anything specifically, you can just look up our 5-word company name as a whole, because that's the main side. That's just what it's titled, In the Image Clothing Company. The main side of In the Image Clothing Company, if you will, okay? And if you won't, that's what it is as well. It's not up to you, okay? That's funny, because that's the truth. That's, truth is not up to anybody. It's apart from all of us. And regardless of whatever's going on, you can find who we are by just looking up those 5 words. Because for the other 3 sides, we just add the word poodles for one of the fourths, or we just add the word podcast for another one of the fourths, which is this one here where you're listening to me speak. Or we just add the word music, okay, for the other fourth, in the Image Clothing Company music, okay? And so this is what we have done here. This is what God has done through me. Because then I don't have to try to direct people to 4 different companies. Because that's truly what this is In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, for example, as just one of the fourths, is its own entire company by itself. Everything we do there could be done by itself without any of the other 3 sides of In the Image Clothing Company existing at all. That's the same with the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, and that's the same with In the Image Clothing Company podcast, and the same with In the Image Clothing Company music. And that's why they all have their own wording besides the main side, right? Because it's like a labeling of, what do we do on this fourth? Poodles. In the Image Clothing Company Poodles. Okay, simplistic. Easy to find. What do we do on this other fourth? Well, we have a podcast on In the Image Clothing Company podcast, right? It's labeled so clearly, so you don't have to try to figure out how to decipher the things we do, because if you want to find our music, you just search In the Image Clothing Company, and you'll find our music on In the Image Clothing Company music. And it's really cool, actually, because if we did this all just under one name, In the Image Clothing Company, and we didn't have it like distinctly separated with the labeling, it would be kind of hard to navigate, like with the internet nowadays, and we do so much and always will through the gift of video. We could have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of videos that you're trying to search through, or millions of videos, billions of videos. We could have more videos than any of us could imagine as of right now. Truly, right? I don't know exactly how many we'll end up having of what on each of the 4 sides of In the Image Clothing Company, but a lot, I mean, I'm in this for life, and we, do a lot, truly. But it's cool because with the distinct separate labeling, it's all under the same 5-word preface, if you will. You look up In the Image Clothing Company, and you can get to all of what we do as what this whole company is that has 4 sides to it. Yeah, because we document things, as I say. We do so much documenting. We're not just trying to push out like content for the sake of like entertainment. we document time periods, we document progression in, well, myself as the founder with my own physical body, when I do what we do on the main side of In the Image Clothing Company and get out of the chronic patterning and scar tissue that gets built up in our bodies in this right-handed world we live in, with clothing oversized or imbalanced, or ropes like shoelaces, drawstrings, and similar things introduced to the body, and all that we do just living in our modern man-made world placed onto God's natural earth as a human being, we allow the body to work, right? And so much of it's documentation, and a lot of it, we have series and we have numbered things like Metronome Madness. We're on episode 36 and it's numbered. In the Image Clothing Company podcast, this is episode 177 and they're numbered in order, right? But then we categorize things and ways of doing things. I mean, even on In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, Catching Strays, there's one episode of that where, we would just do a lot. We have series, we have numbered things, we have things that are just under the same labeling. The truth behind series, right? How clothing affects body mechanics, but replace the word clothing for whatever item that's specifically there, right? The importance of even, and then we've got muscular insertions, we've got rotations within the body and certain parts of the body. We've got certain sides to clothing that we discuss keeping even, because there is a center line to the human being, right? The sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw. The jaw stabilizes the entire body, and our bodies have to stay centered on Earth's center of gravity that it just pulls down on us with because we're placed on it, right? So we do a lot of series, and we do a lot of things that we group together, and that's great, and that's wonderful. It makes it easier to find things, okay? That's why that's so great. Actually, truly. Yeah, because we could have all the information out there and just do all that we can as we do, right? To just speak truth, universal, apart from us, unchanging, eternal truth. God was before anything is, and so he's the truth. The same yesterday, today, and forever, right? The way, the truth, and the life. Jesus Christ is his name, the creator of all things. And we try to do all that we can on all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company, and it will always be like this. And you've heard me say this. If you've heard me say this, I've said this many times, documented under In the Image Clothing Company content before today's date, right? But to just gear what we do around truth. But we're imperfect as human beings. All of us are and always will be in this life. So getting closer to Jesus Christ is the point of this life at all, truly, okay? I'm not saying that. We discuss God as he says that he is. He makes the rules, okay? And we try to do all that we can to abide by them. But it'd be so cool to just have all the information we do. But it would be, and it is even cooler, to have it in the ways that we can, sectioned off, okay? Labeled well, placed in a place where you can find it easier, because we could just have everything there that you could ever need to know about, what we do. But if you can't even find it or get to it, then it's like, since we do so much, and a lot of that is quantity, but not for the sake of quantity, but, being very intentional about having everything we do be quality, but we just do a lot, as in quantity as well, right? So many videos, for example, as one of the big, that's one of the biggest things that we are as In the Image Clothing Company, and always will be, because you can include In the Image Clothing Company podcast episodes in with that as well. That's an entire fourth of our company. In the Image Clothing Company music. If you just record a video of somebody playing music, like me on Little Red the guitar here, for example, which is what I've done up until today's date on In the Image Clothing Company music, then that's just a video, right? But we need to be able to find all these things, or else you might have a hard time finding all of these things if we don't do what we can to just, make it pretty well convenient in the ways that we can to section things off, like I'm saying. And so that's what we've done here under In the Image Clothing Company. That's how God has laid this out. 4 sides. Each of them has their own name, but it's all under the same 5-word company name, okay? And that's about it. That's about my explanation. That might be the extent of all that I say in here, actually, because I just want to make it clear that we do what we can to make it clear of where to go and how to find us, because InTheImageClothingCompany.com, right? I purchased it. I haven't renewed it. That's the truth, right? And I've discussed this and shown an actual paper that I got in the mail, right, on a past episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. But yeah, that's our domain, right? We own it. I guess not technically right this second legally, but we do. I mean, it's our company name. I owned it before this was all built, and now we've been in this for over a year since then. Simple, right? Simple domain name, meaning, yeah, on a website. Look it up on the internet, right? I don't know how that's always going to look going forth, but it doesn't really matter because we will always have our same 5-word company name as a whole. And however websites work, let's say down the road it changes, and there's no such thing as a .com or a search bar. Who knows, right? It doesn't matter if there was or wasn't. In the Image Clothing Company will always have In the Image Clothing Company being our 5-word company name, okay? So no matter how you get to us anywhere, at all, ever, in any aspect of what, let's say we have books someday, let's say we have a website, because we do, although not yet. We own the domain, although not right now anymore yet, because I haven't renewed it, right? See, we're kind of in this phase where it's like, we're here, we're planted, we're rooted, but it doesn't quite look how it will going forth. Okay, because we're still new. I was gonna say fairly new, but no, we're still new. It's only me. The team hasn't even grown past me yet, as of today's date. And things, we're rooted. I mean, we're solid as who we are, but it will look even more structured going forth. But just for good context, it will never change. We will always be able to be found, and all that we do on all the sides, whether it is music, poodles, the podcast here, or the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, any of the 4 sides will always be able to be found under just searching or doing what it means to find In the Image Clothing Company's 5-word company name. And In the Image Clothing Company products, right? Human being clothing and dog products, allowing the body to work and letting dogs stay natural. Things like keeping collars centered, clothing fitting us correct, where we discuss when we talk about where clothing sits, being made from 100% natural materials in all the ways that we can, right? We have these intents of do everything clothing, do everything dog products. When we breed our purebred standard poodles, do everything poodles. Not necessarily poodles geared toward a specific lifestyle, or only therapy dogs, or only athletic dogs, right? Because even within a specific breed, you can choose specific dogs to breed with a certain personality trait in ways, right? Certainly you can, but it's always about, let's live a well-rounded life. And a lot of what we do is just talk about that on In the Image Clothing Company podcast, and being able to physically operate with quote, the only thing that we have, unquote, an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. That's our human bodies, right? The only thing we actually have in this life that's promised. Everything else can come and go. Until we go, then there's nothing else to come to us. Check that out. But yeah, just allowing our bodies to work through the clothing, okay? Do everything clothing. And then not only our intention behind breeding our purebred standard poodles, but the information we give that applies to all dogs across the earth, because it does, besides things that are very, very poodle specific. We want our dogs to be able to do everything. And so dog products will always be do everything dog products, collars, leashes, harnesses, and whatever else we get into. And, same with human being clothing, pants and shirts and simple things like this that we wear every day, but then whatever else we get into. I'm not saying it's always going to be just so, like that simple. We're a very simple company, but as far as what we put out products-wise, it won't, I'm not going to say exactly what it will or won't be, but that's what I mean is I'm not saying as of now that it's only going to be just this or just that and just a few very simple things, because we might have quite a few different products, Yeah. But always with, simplicity in mind, and always, yeah, with our same values that we have behind everything that we do, going into every design that we ever would put out of anything, product-wise, in any way. I mean, I've even thought about certain things in the Image Clothing Company hydration. And shoot, I think that's the first time I've said that. Because it's been a couple months at least that I've maybe 3, even months from today's date back, I've been thinking about stuff like this, being, kind of prompted by God with certain things because, yeah, sure, our last two words in our company name are clothing company, but we talk about everything. We're not about fashion. We talk about standing, sitting, walking, eating, breathing, hydration, sleeping. And those are just the things that I mentioned because that's, basically all that we do as a human being. And then within those things, whatever else we choose to do with our lives, those are the ways that we do those things. But the same for dogs. We talk about dogs in all the ways that you could really. I mean, really, when it comes to, the dog being a body of flesh and bone, just like the human being that we discuss this stuff like this, right? So this is awesome because this is an amazing documentation. I didn't quite know exactly all of what I was going to say in this and even really how I was going to approach it other than just making it clear that all of what we ever are at all always comes back to those 5 words. And it's really all one. There's no spaces. In the Image Clothing Company. Okay. Each of the first letters in each of the words are capitalized, but they're all squished together with no spaces between them. For context, right? There you go. I mean, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's how we are. In the Image Clothing Company. Okay. That's what we are. That's who we are, and that's how you'll find us always. Yeah, so I guess that's what I'll say. That's cool. That's good. I like that. So, yeah, that's where we'll leave this, okay? Today's the 4th of November, 2025. Um wow, I'm gonna just wrap it up like quick from right now to the end of this. Like that's what we'll say. Okay, my name is Evan Strong. I'm the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. In this for life, stick around for the poodles. Come to events. We've got a lot more events. That's a big thing. I mention poodle parade events all the time that I do. Yeah, that would be the case. Because that's how that works when you're explaining what you have done. Is you have done what you have done. But all the events will have, and I haven't talked about this all that much recently. I used to say this, months and months ago. I mean, 8+ months ago, and even on the founding video, events where we actually, I'm not going to give exact parameters around what the events will look like, but just know poodle parade events where you can bring your standard purebred poodles, miniature purebred poodles, toy purebred poodles, any size of poodle and or poodle mixes of any size as well, right? To the state of Utah here, the United States of America, where we're based, and we'll do a lot together in nature, and it'll be fun and pretty and great for both us as the owner of dogs and the dogs themselves. Okay, poodles and poodle mixes. But those are the only events that I've really put all that much focus on discussing in the past quite a few months, really. But those won't be the only events we'll have, and that's been made clear months back by me. But just kind of like mentioning some things here and there, just where I do, is good to kind of like just like remind people. And I don't know how many people really watch all of what we do, or if anybody would watch every single thing we ever put out. So sometimes it's good to say some things that maybe even I've said quite a bit in other times. Um, just kind of like a little bit of a documentation. Okay. But yeah, we do a lot, and no matter what it is, right? That's what I mean is if we're working with like a shelter for dogs, like at an animal shelter, and you want to find out scheduling or what's going on and how to get there, just look up our 5-word company name, In the Image Clothing Company. If we're doing some kind of in-person event where we are giving information on clothing, free modifications in clothing to allow the body to work, or we're showing our products, or I'm just discussing the anatomy of the human body, whether these events are free or paid, depending on which one, and it doesn't matter, any of the 4 sides, or if we're doing things with music in person as well. See, this is what I mean is we do a lot. And so no matter what I'm saying in this is whether it is scheduling for an event, or whether it is trying to find any of our products, whether it is trying to find videos or information on any of the 4 sides of In the Image Clothing Company. You're trying to find our puppies when the litters come. You are trying to find whatever it is at all that has anything to do with any of the four sides of all that we are in any way under In the Image Clothing Company, or, we're working with other organizations in whatever way that is in the time, and you want to just know who and why and how we are in the Image Clothing Company, that's the 5-word name you look up. And it'll lead you to all that we are. Okay. In all the ways that we are what we are here. And that makes more sense when you know that there's so much more to this than just a clothing company. Because we could be all that we are as In the Image Clothing Company without ever having clothing for sale. Because we're over a year into it as of me saying this right now, and we do not have any clothing for sale yet. We've done a lot. We do a lot. Okay. But these are things to come that haven't quite made their way into our avenue of, driving through this highway of life quite yet. Okay. So don't believe me, and stick around for the poodles and hang out and check out what we do, and we give information that applies to everybody and your dogs, truly. That's kind of like a silly thing I've heard growing up, like everyone and their dog came, when there's just so many people, but there's not actually dogs there. It's just like an exaggeration of there's so many people here. But that's funny. That's something we could say. I just did, and it's the truth. What we do under In the Image Clothing Company, our 5-word company name, applies to everybody and their dogs. That's sweet, man. That's cool to say like that, okay? I'm not telling you that it's cool. I'm saying it's cool. And then I said, okay, as in, did you hear me? And if not, whatever. But if not, then why are you listening to the podcast at all? Turn it off and go do something else, right? Nah, but if you got a problem with us, stick around. And now you know how to find us. So you can come hunt us down and tell us how upset you are with our bold claims. Right? I picture the movie Iron Man by Marvel. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, when Iron Man, tells the bad guy in the movie exactly his address, and the bad guy comes and tries to, take him out at his own house. It's like, yeah, you got a problem with us? Well, you know where to find us. But come for deeper context is what I mean on who we are and why we say such bold things. And where you'll find that is just under our 5-word company name. Okay. And it'll never change. And you'll find it however you ever try to search us up, anywhere that we are, we'll pop up there when you when you look for us. In the Image Clothing Company. Seek and you will find, right? Here we go. Some gospel messages and everything, because it's the truth of all things, right? So the gospel of Jesus Christ. Yeah, we have that name because that's what we do, is try to do all that we can to align everything that we do with truth. In the image of God is truly how we're designed, regardless of if you're religious or not, because I'm not religious. I'm the founder of this company with this name. And I'm also very, 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 very grateful to be a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Call it a paradoxical gospel for a reason. The backward good news. You don't have to believe in anything, and everything's still true if it's there. How else could it be there to discuss, right? So this is what we do. We make some bold claims. And I mean it, because that's what God says. If you've got a problem with us, stick around. The world will tell you otherwise. If you've got a problem with me, go away, but God says, yeah, if you don't understand how I work, well, none of you will. If God's speaking to us, it's his ways are not our ways. He's perfect and almighty, and we're imperfect and we need help. So, when we don't understand God, that's what actually draws us nearer to him, and then he draws nearer to us. Okay. So there you go. Thank you.